The rulers of the world have the capacity, because they built the system, that they can attack your money and they can cause your money to fall in value. And as your money falls in value, prices will rise. But when you are a particularly dangerous customer, you will have a free fall of your money. And you'll have rising prices in a calamitous rise. This rising prices is called inflation. And I did mention at the very first session that this is the most dangerous weapon that Dajjal has, inflation. Because as prices rise, the people then turn against you. And you are removed in a color revolution. They call it regime change. It has not as yet succeeded in Venezuela, largely because the Venezuelan government has invested in the poor. All the oil revenues go to the poor. And if you keep the poor people happy and you put guns in their hands, then it's difficult to bring about a regime change in Venezuela. But I was in Caracas. I wanted to buy a coffee. I had no Venezuelan bolivars. I had US dollar 100. I wanted to change it to get money to buy a coffee. So the employee of Caribbean Airlines, with which I had flown to Venezuela, he said to me, don't change it in the money changer place, the official rate. You won't get anything there. I'll take care of it for you. I said, okay. So he went for some time. He came back. And when he came back with an envelope filled with money this high. Look, big like this. You can't put it in your pocket. This was the Venezuelan bolivar. 100 US was this much. When I went to Harare in Zimbabwe a couple of years ago, my flight arrived earlier than scheduled, and my people were not there to receive me, and I needed to call them to inform them that I'm here. So I asked, what's the cost of a local call? I need to get some, I had South African rands, so I wanted to change it to Zimbabwe dollars. So they said to me, a local call will cost $2 million. $2 million Zimbabwe money. This is because Robert Mugabe had signed an agreement with Britain, on the basis of which Britain recognized a change of government in Zimbabwe, and Robert Mugabe became president. But the agreement stated that the Zimbabwe government would recognize the ownership of the British farmers of all the lands which they owned. And the British farmers own something like 80% of all the arable land of Zimbabwe, British farmers. And because Robert Mugabe signed and accepted that, they withdrew from Zimbabwe. Southern Rhodesia then became Zimbabwe, and Salisbury then became Harare. But after 20 years of Zimbabwe new government of Robert Mugabe, the African people rose up in rebellion. That we don't have the land, they own the land, the British farmers, they own the land. We're still slaves in our country. And Mugabe suddenly found himself vulnerable, he'd be overthrown. So then he had no option but to take the land from the British farmers and give it back to the African people. And from the time he did that, the British attacked, the Western world attacked his money. and the Zimbabwe dollar fell in a free fall, and prices rose, runaway inflation. And they were hoping this way to bring about a regime change in Zimbabwe. Mugabe was able to escape by the skin of his teeth, because the poor in Zimbabwe, they knew how to keep some chicken at home and keep some sheep and goats, and how to plant some food around their house. So even though prices were constantly rising, they were able to escape from that inflation by producing their own food. Yeah.